welcome everybody. We're going to keep this very short and sweet. That way you guys can ask all the questions that you have in regards to our trip. Is there anybody who did not get a packet yet? Great. Let's go ahead and start on that. I will tell you, this exact copy of the packet is on all of the students' iPads. I put mine on Shobi.
Mine's on Google Classroom.
On Google Classroom for Mrs. Jansen's class. So it is on their iPads. They have access to that at all times. So if, say, for instance, like your kid loses their copy, you can get on the iPads and you can also sign on the iPads, okay? So just on the front page, we're gonna talk about the music trip. Our trip is during spring break, so March 16th to the 21st of 2020. We are going to Anaheim, California. I hope that your children have communicated that with you. If they haven't, I'm sorry. They've known since probably April that we're going to California. So we're going to Disneyland. It is a 25-hour drive to California and a 25-hour drive back. So on the front, it just kind of explains we are taking motor coaches, so we're using a motor coach company, and the students will end up sleeping on the bus on our way to California, and then they will be sleeping on the bus overnight on the way back from California. So the motor coach company, the nice thing about utilizing them is they can drive all the way through the night, and we don't have to stop, with our bus company that we would use for our school, we would have to stop every certain hour and do rest breaks. And so the nice thing is that we can just go straight through the night. The reason why we decided to go through the night for our trip is to give them more time at Disneyland. If we decided to stop and stay the night and make the trip a 2-day trip, they would only get a day and a quarter at Disneyland. And for this price, I hate to have parents pay $1,250 to only have a day and a half at Disneyland. So that's kind of our reasoning for doing the overnight on the bus. Gives them more time in California, gives them more time to do some of the events that we have planned. So we will have 3 full days and 3 full nights in California. Some of the events that we have planned for them, we are doing a Grammy tour. So they get to go do a tour where they show us all the technology, all the sound equipment that it goes into recording sound studios, also recording TV shows. We will do a Hollywood Walk of Fame, so they'll get to go down on Hollywood, get to see all the Hollywood stars in the Walk of Fame. We also have it's a black light parade night at Disney. So they do a parade down the center of Disneyland where there's glow sticks and the students get to enjoy seeing all of the different Disney characters coming down for the parade on one of those nights. Lots and lots of things planned. We also are going to take them to the beach for a couple hours so they get to put their toes in the sand and put their toes in the water. Our travel company, they were like, do you really want to see the water? Yeah, we're from Kansas. We don't get to see ocean. So we got to make that happen. So there's just lots of opportunities that are coming along. And you guys can kind of read through this front page. It just explains everything that we're going to be doing on our trip. There is, down at the bottom, it says we do need a firm commitment by October 1st to accommodate with all of our contracts, with our traveling company, with our traveling agents, and all of our reservations for our overnight stays and our meals. Okay? Our contact information is also below there. I'm sure most of you have met Mrs. Jansen, but if you haven't met Mrs. Jansen, this is our new band director. She is a Scott City alum, so it's kind of nice to have 2 music teachers who have graduated from this exact school who are now leading the program. So I'm very excited to have Elizabeth here and excited to take this trip. Yeah. Great. She's probably thinking, trip to Disneyland? What?
I'm in. I'm ready.
We will survive. We will do it. So if you go to the second page, it just gives you a lot of details of what your students are paying for, the dates as well. So it shows you, the trip package. So that includes all of the Disneyland tickets. We have the Village Travel Costs. That is the motor coach company that we are utilizing. And then also our meal costs and any miscellaneous reservations or extra meals that we are paying for to help pay for those costs. So that's what your $1,250 is coming up to. For our motor coach company, we will tell you guys we're taking 3 buses from the motor coach company, and they are not like the buses at Scott Community High School. They are larger, they have more capacity to put more people on the bus, they have Wi-Fi, there's outlets, so the students will have everything that they will need on this 25-hour trip. There's also bathrooms on the buses, so we can utilize the bathrooms if we need to, but we do have planned in that 25-hour drive all of our restroom breaks and all of our meal breaks. So we do have those calculated into our travel time. But we've heard a lot of the students saying, you know, oh, I don't want to spend 25 hours on a bus. We promise it's not going to be like the Scott City bus that we take to the football game where you're crammed next to a person. It's going to be more spacious, it's going to be more convenient and just nicer buses. They have TVs, and so we will probably just purchase a whole bunch of DVDs or bring DVDs. They can watch movies on their way there. It will be a nice trip. And a lot of your students, you probably know, they get on the bus and within 10 minutes they put on their earphones and they're snoozing away. So the 25-hour trip, I really don't foresee any issues with it. Get on the bus, go to sleep, you'll be fine. So here it talks about the fundraising plan. These are all the fundraisers that we are offering your students to help raise money and to help supply those funds for their trip. There are 8 total. So right there, there's 8 opportunities that you don't have to break out your checkbook and give your kid a check. We have had many students, and this is even when I was in high school, that have paid for their entire trip straight through fundraising. We had my first year here as a teacher, we went to Cozumel, and I had multiple students pay for their $950 Cozumel trip working fundraisers. They didn't have to pay a single penny out of their pocket. So if you really advocate for your child and you really push them to work these fundraisers, they can raise the money without you having to open up your checkbook. And that's why we offer these fundraisers, is so that the parents don't have that responsibility of budgeting that into your weekly or monthly budgets. If your child is a child who just does not fundraise and you don't want to have to be the prod pushing behind them, it shows down at the bottom exactly what you could save every single week to save up enough money to pay for their entire trip. So if you started saving as of today, September 17th, $65.80 every week, that would pay for their entire trip without fundraising at all. So just trying to break it down. That way the students can also see, you know, if they're working outside of school and they know that they don't have time to fundraise, they can see how much they need to save out of their paycheck to help go towards their trip payments. Do we have any questions yet on just that much? No? Okay, let's keep going. So the next page, we have due dates. We split them into 4 equal amounts. 4 payments of $312.50. Our first payment is October 21st. Second payment is November 18th. Third is December 16th. And your fourth and final balance is January 20th. Now there are cancellation dates if your child decides that they just really don't want to go on the trip, or if there's some financial things happening. After their first payment, they can receive a full refund of their first payment back, but that refund goes directly into their student account, which is their band and choir account, okay? We really harped that on the students today, that you don't get a $312 check to put in your pocket and go buy jeans. It goes straight back into your account and you can use it for future events like next year's trip, or buying marching band shoes, or buying sugar and spice dresses. That's where that money goes back into. But we do not give money back out, cash or check, for what your child fundraises or what they put in for their first payment. So if after the second payment they decide that they just really don't want to go on this trip, that's great, that's their decision, but there will be no refund after the second payment. After the third payment, there's no refund and there's a $50 fee. That fee goes towards paying for the bus seat that your child would have been taking, paying for the tickets that your child would have been using at Disneyland, and any other miscellaneous fees that we would have through reservations or any of our Grammy Tour reservations that we have.
And the travel company we work with also charges that fee. Because like that no refund, you'd be like, well, that should cover it anyway. It does, but the travel company charges us an additional $50 and $75 after these dates. So that's why that extra is tagged on there. It's because we can't be digging in and going in the red because we lost a kid. And so that's why that additional fund is on there in addition to the no refund.
Yep. And that ties into your fourth payment, which is no refund plus a $75 fee. Yes?
So if the kids can raise all of their money through fundraising, how is that you have to make the first payment already October 21st?
Because we have payments that we have to make to our travel company, and that's why we have their payments set up into 4 equal amounts. So their fundraising, their first 3 fundraisers happen before October 21st. And so if they work those first 3 fundraisers, they should have enough money to cover their first payment without having to break out a checkbook at all. Which a lot of kids, I can tell you, as of today, already have enough to cover their first payment or their second payment because they really worked their heinies off last year. We really tried to push last year, hey, fundraise, because this could go towards next year's trip. Yes?
Just, my son, he paid for 4 trips, and all he did was fundraise. I mean, he paid for it all. All he had to do was take whatever he wanted to spend.
Yep.
And he even had leftover last year, 2 years ago at the end of the senior year, so.
Yeah. And then he probably shared that with Morgan?
It's probably still sitting right there and we'll just transfer.
Yeah, we just need to transfer it over. It is possible, folks, that your kids can raise every single penny of this trip through the fundraisers. And that's why we offer so many fundraisers. We wanted to try to offer at least 1 a month. And we've got 8 total in the span of 5 months. We don't get any extra payment from the district for taking your children on these trips. We don't get any extra reimbursement for supplying all the fundraisers that we do. We do this because we know the legacy that has came out of the music department, and we've been on these trips ourselves, and that's why we offer this to your children, to give them the opportunities that we got. I have never seen the ocean until I started working here and went to Cozumel. I mean, those are opportunities that a lot of people don't get. So we want to continue to provide those to your children, and we want to make it to where you don't go in the red in your bank account so that your kid can enjoy this opportunity. Yeah.
Do our children know like what their balance is from last year, like from the fundraising, so that we have an idea by October?
They will. We haven't sat down and done the balancing yet because we've been really trying to push to get this plan set and forth, and that way we can have our parent meeting with you. We had hoped to be having this parent meeting earlier in September, but our travel agent decided after 11 years that she wanted to go elsewhere. And so then we had the issue of having to deal with a new travel agent and just making sure that everything was lined up the way we exactly wanted it to line up. And we didn't want to give you guys information and then have to take it back and say, oh, wait, change. So that's why we have waited until now to give you guys that information. But I am hoping probably by Friday or Monday at the latest, we can have their accounts and get them to the students by then. Good question. The others? Okay, we're gonna go on. This is really important, and that's why it's always in black and bolded. When you send money with your kids to school, please make sure that your checks have the band and choir trip in the memo, and then also includes your child's name. There's a lot of kids that go into the office every single day that throw money at Catherine, and Catherine's like, I have no idea who that kid was, because she's only been here, this is her 2nd year. So please make sure that you have that information listed on your checks or your credit cards that you're sending with them. That way she knows exactly where that money is going, and we don't have to find the whose money is it game. It's also really important if you send cash with your kids. I highly recommend you seal it, you put it in an envelope, put their names on it. That way they can just go in and say, here you go, Catherine, here's my trip money. Because Catherine's not somebody who can just be like, oh wait, everything else has to stop so that I can put this child's money in their account. So if you label your stuff and you have it clearly labeled, then we can make sure that we get it to the correct place. I can tell you there's been many, many times I've had to go in and say, hey, I think we need to check this student's lunch account because they said they turned in a check for $300 X amount of dollars and we don't know where it is. And so then we pull up their lunch account and we're like, oh yeah, they have like $500 in their lunch account. Uh-oh. So then we have to play that retracing, going backwards and finding that stuff. So if you guys can do that for us, That will make our lives a lot easier, and we don't have to trace checks and trace where money goes. And then we don't get those angry phone calls of, I sent a check, why is it not there? I don't know. Okay, so if you guys can help us do that, that would be phenomenal. Special dietary needs and health needs. If your child has any health concerns that we need to be concerned about, please come talk to us. If they have any special dietary needs, gluten-free, if they're allergic to anything, please let us know. We want to make sure that every student is safe on our trip, and us being informed is going to help make that possible. And you can come talk to us, or you can send us an email, but we want the parents to come talk to us. We really don't want the kids coming to us. We want the parents communicating those medical and dietary needs to us.
There will be a form that goes out eventually that's due on October 14th. We'll make sure you have that form as well, so you can write down all those things, and we can bring that form with us and have record of all their needs and make sure we take care of the kids.
But we need that information by October 14th. That way, when we start making reservations for meals and reservations at Disneyland, we can make those and make them known to our travel agent. Code of conduct, that will come at a later time. That will be closer to leave time for the trip. But the code of conduct, it'll be us explaining what is expected from your child and what's not allowed. Obviously, your child can't go on the trip and then just disappear for 3 days and then show up when we decide to come home. They're our responsibility, and so there's going to be some very tight rules. But those rules are set forth to make sure that your child leaves here and that your child gets home safely. So that will happen closer to leave time of the trip. And then down at the bottom, I'm a big checklist post-it person. I gotta write things down and then go, oh, I finished it, check. So this is just a checklist down at the bottom. If you are that type of person like me, just going through some of those due dates of what's happening for your children. And then on the back page, this is just the agreement form stating that you have spoke with your child, you understand the requirements, that if they choose to go on this trip, it is their responsibility to raise the money. It is their responsibility to fundraise and do what they can to make their payments and make their payments on time. And it also states that your child understands that they have to be eligible to participate on our trip, and they have to be in good standings with the school to participate on this trip. If there is any eligibility or any good standing issues, Mr. McCormick will step in and decide if that child gets to go on the trip. And that's decided whether that kid has paid for the full trip or not. So we really encourage that you speak to your children and remind them that their grades have to be passing, or they just put $12,000 down the toilet, okay? And down at the bottom, it just states that we ask to have this form back by October 1st, just stating, yes, we agree, or no, we don't wish to go on this trip. That way we have documentation of who is committed on the trip and we can move forward with it.
I have some single-sided copies of that if you want to keep that checklist for yourself. I have a few extra that you can just take and sign and send back, or it's also online. We can run off some more tomorrow too if we need kids to take them.
So we can sign the kid's iPad, you said that, right?
Yeah.
And they can bring it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can sign the iPad too.
And if you want a digital copy of this form, I do have a list started here. You can come add your name and add your email. We can also send you digital copies. We just want to make sure that everybody has all of the information that you're going to need and that we're not missing any parent or any information. So, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or
I don't think
say?
so. Are there any questions? If not for the full group, we'll stick around here for a few minutes if you want to come ask us. Yeah.
What about chaperones?
We have a working list. If you are interested, let us know. But we will make those selections later, not at this moment.
It'll be after we get commitment forms back to decide how many chaperones we would need for the students that are going on our trip. And so that will come at a later time. But yes, like she said, we do have a running list. If you would like your name added to the list, we will definitely start a list up here and put you guys on there. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, like we said, we wanted to keep this short and sweet. We just wanted to make sure you guys got all of the information. If you do have questions, our contact information is on the bottom of your first page. Please feel free to contact us. Let us know if you have any concerns or questions, and we thank you guys for your time.
Yeah.